We used to go and stay with them when they were in Oxford.
Lynn and Nick and the Trainors.
Yes, with Lynn and Nick, because Lynn was teaching and Nick was finishing his PhD, and but he'd left college, but so he had to finish it, and he had great determination to carry on with it. When they had little children, and yes.
So we
used to go for about 3 days a week. We used to travel up on a Wednesday or something, and so that we could be with them Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and Nick could have 3 solid days. And it was really lovely. And
you need to smile when you're walking past, darling.
And do a little bow, of course.
And Eden was, how do you remember when he was ill, and he had this really, really high temperature, and he couldn't stop him crying. He was just crying and crying and really hot. And they had that rocking chair, and it was such a tiny house, and we put it on the little landing, and I just sat there with Eden with his head over, curled around, so that his tummy was being kept warm, and just rocked and rocked, and then in the end, I think Lynn went into hospital with him, didn't she? But I don't think they found anything.
No, they didn't. They tried various tests, though. When we went up next, he was in hospital, and Nick was with him, and so he was very tired. So he went off, and I stayed with Eden. They took a lumbar puncture, which they needed to do in case it was meningitis, and he was brave. So it really was a nasty thing to do. What else?
I remember EJ, because we used to go away, didn't we? You two and me
yes,
and Katie and Peter, and I remember with EJ, I think it was his second mobile phone. So the first one I think he'd lost or something, and the second one, it was in the trousers, and I washed it because I don't check. I think that my children didn't have pockets, and Steve and I would empty our pockets, so I wouldn't check pockets. And I washed it, and I said to him, "I'm really sorry, EJ, I'll replace it. I've washed your phone." And I think he was really upset, and he just didn't say anything, and he kind of walked around for a long time until he could calm himself down, and then he said, "It's all right, Auntie Jill, don't worry." He must have been about, I don't know how old he would have been. It felt like he was sort of 10 or something.
Yeah, when they started big school, probably.
Yeah, maybe 11. But I remember how well he did to sort of, how upset he was and how well he did not to show me, and to deal with it.
I can imagine that, yeah.
And do you remember I remember we had some dinghies, didn't we? We sometimes had blow-up dinghies,
yes.
and we felt that they needed to be tethered to the shore, because when you and Grant went out, tell us about Grant going out with Grant.
Right, well, that was when Grant was really quite small, and we got a blow-up boat, and when we were in France, blew it up, and it had a paddle, and we went just aiming to be within shallow water, because Grant couldn't swim at that time, and we found that the boat, which had quite big sides, was being blown by the wind out to sea, and so I then tried to paddle back as quickly as I could, hoping to get back to a place where I could jump off and still reach the bottom. And I didn't dare to do that unless I was sure I could reach it, because otherwise I might let go of the boat. And so I was able to do that. Then the paddle broke in two, and so there was a rope round the outside of the dinghy, and I took and tied Grant to the boat, and looked over at the rocks that formed the shore of Spain, some little way away, and we just waited. Before very long, there was an inflatable dinghy with outboard motor came out with a couple of lifeguards in it, and they picked us up, and
It was a nightmare, yes.
it was,
You could
yes.
see them disappearing, yeah.
And they wouldn't accept anything in the way of reward other than that we had to sign the book that they had rescued us from a difficult situation.
And so I remember we wouldn't let EJ go on the boat on his own without it being
right.
tethered, and he found that really annoying, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
I don't remember
yeah.
that.
He wanted freedom, of
He
course.
did, yes.
But what happened was that Lynn, when she was training for the ministry, she had to do 1 day a week and 1 weekend a month and 1 week a year. And so when she started, we said that we would cover for that. But she'd got 4 children, so a normal car only has room for 5, so we couldn't take them at all. So the first couple of years first year we borrowed the Land Rover, which was a bit of a nightmare, because Nick used to maintain it, because he said it was such a simple engine, and so he got the whatever it was that showed how it worked, and he just used to repair it, whatever it was, and it would go clunk clunk along, wouldn't it? And I didn't even try to drive it, because we used to, spell the driving, and but then you used to come with us with Katie and Peter. So for years and years, the 3 adults and the 6 children, we used to have lovely holidays.
We did, didn't we?
And to start off with, it was very simple, because all they wanted was the beach, so we went to Swanage, which was near Bournemouth.
And we'd youth hostel generally, wouldn't we?
Oh, youth hostel, yes, because then they could choose what they wanted for food. And at that stage, some of them were a bit fussy, and so that was really easy. And I remember one of them. Who was it? Was it Rosie? Invited the cook at the youth hostel to come and stay with us, because they looked after us so nicely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, was it Rosie?
No, it was.
It was Ruth. Oh, it would be, wouldn't it? Yes. You just looked up at at the serving counter.
Yes, she said, well, you've looked after us so nicely while we're here, perhaps you'd like to come and stay with us. I wasn't there at the time, but the cook told me the next time that he wouldn't actually be letting me know when he was free to come. But
that reminds me of when we were youth hosteling as a family, and Lynn was planning to do planning to go to Kenya. Tell that story, Daddy. Do you remember?
Lost.
So she was telling somebody about going to Kenya and how.
Yeah.
No.
Yes, we were. We were walking in the Dales, and there wasn't a youth hostel actually near there, so we had a bed and breakfast. And the farmer, it was in part of a farm, and the farmer came in at the end of the day, of course, and we all sat chatting, and Lynn was telling them that she was going to Kenya, and that they going to a village where most of them just had sort of mud huts with thatch roofs and things, and they were impressed. They thought, this is very adventurous.
Because she'd be what, 18 then, or?
It'd be 17.
17.
Going out at 18. And then it was time for bed, and they went upstairs to bed, and then after a moment came, Daddy, 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 there's a spider. And the farmer collapsed at the thought that...
I don't remember that at all. Yeah.
Don't you?
No.
And there was also the story about, I can't remember. I remember the punchline, so it's not going to be such a good story, about hitting someone over the head with a wisdom toothbrush.
Right. That was when we walked the Pennine Way. And,
Which was 76, wasn't it? I remember.
Yes.
So I was 13 and Lynn would be just turned 11.
Yeah, I think yes. And we'd been going walking for weekends and quite a bit of weekend. And Grant thought it'd be a really good idea to walk the Pennine Way, and I kept thinking, well, no, because it only needs one of them to twist an ankle, and that'd be the whole of our summer gone. And I said, well, we could do it in week sections, but nobody thought that was a good idea. So in the end, we decided we would.
And we called you the weak section, didn't we?
Yes, that's right. And and we met Peter,
Mhm.
We're all there, weren't we? Yes, that's right. We met Peter early on, and
He was from Manchester,
he
wasn't
was
he?
from Manchester. And we used to sing about I'm a rambler. I'm a rambler
From Manchester way.
I'm a wage slave on Mondays to Fridays, but
I am a free man.
On Sunday,
yes. Anyway, we used to sing that quite a lot. We used to sing as we were walking, and it was really good because if you're singing, you don't notice how far or how fast you're going. And then we lost him. I don't know. I think he had too much to drink one night, and he missed a day's walking. But then he caught us up, and oh, that's right. And then one hostel we were in, Steve was going up to the bathrooms, and one boy said to another, this little girl, and she hit me on the head with a tea tray.
yeah.
And he said, and what do you do? What did you do then? I said, I hit her on the head with a toothbrush.
With my wisdom toothbrush.
Oh yes, with my wisdom toothbrush, that's right. And so he left messages.
Peter did.
Peter did, yes. And then Lynn got heat stroke, I think it was. And so we couldn't all go on. So Lynn and I stayed at a hospital twice. Which hospital was it? Can you remember?
Horton and Ribblesdale.
Horton and Ribblesdale. And she let us stay in the hospital during the day, which you couldn't usually, but Lynn was, just sleeping really. And so the rest of you went on to the next hostel. And the arrangement was that I'd go with Lynn to the next hostel in a taxi and leave Lynn with you, and then I'd take the taxi back to Horton so that I could complete the whole of the Pennine Way.
The next day.
The next day, yes. So
Not the whole the next day, you mean that section the next day.
that section
Yeah.
the next day, yes, so that I wasn't missing any. And I set off, and I got about a third of the way, and Peter saw Peter coming towards me, and he'd just packed a rucksack with a huge container of water, and when he met me, he just poured gallons of water down me, what seemed like gallons. And then because I didn't like to say it really slow down, we set off at a great pace, and we got there about 3 in the afternoon, didn't we? And you and the rest of you three were just having ice creams outside the shop in the next.
We'd just been pottering around the river because it was a rest day.
Yes. Anyway, yes, we used to walk for 3 days and then have a rest day, and we turned up, and yeah,
Couldn't believe it.
no, it's good.
I'm just going to finish this.